I was at work earlier today and I was getting ready to leave. I was going to go do a delivery. So while I was actually pulling back into the parking lot, I was coming off of a main strip, and I was getting ready to pull into the parking lot of my job, right? And a car was coming out. However, the car that was coming out, just in its own, I guess, haste to get out, or just in its own zone, or however the person was thinking when they were coming out. They didn't just necessarily, I guess, deem it as important to get in their own lane. So what they did, they kind of was in the middle. Now mind you, this is a parking lot. However, rules of driving, there's kind of like a right side and a right and a left side, correct? So anyway, the car was more so in the middle and more towards the left side. So if a car is coming in the lot and making a right into the lot, then they're immediately going to go into the right lane, correct? You with me? Okay, so now I pulled in and I immediately pull in because there's a bunch of bushes right here. You don't see the car right off. You don't see the car right off. So when I pull in, I'm getting ready to, and I stop, and the car stopped. So the car just stopped there, like didn't know. I guess either not knowing what to do or waiting for me to move. I don't know what it was. So I don't wait and try to figure it out. I just immediately just take the other lane, that car's original designated lane, and go around that car and go and park the company vehicle. All right. Listen. You see, sometimes you have to get out of your lane to avoid having a wreck sometimes. You see, just minding your own business, being antisocial or being in self-control, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes not getting into things or starting things or being in places you shouldn't be, they quote, quote unquote. Sometimes that just isn't enough. Sometimes you have to be aware. Most of the time, I would say, you have to be vigilant. You have to be aware of all of the possibilities when you out and about in a social environment. We can't go through life thinking like, well, everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do, that everybody's going to stay in their lane. You see, we can't go through life thinking like that. We can't go through life feeling or thinking, having a mind frame that, well, it wasn't my fault. They shouldn't have, or they should have. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what should have happened and what shouldn't have happened, you're left to deal with a problem. And let's just say in a car wreck, sometimes some people don't have insurance, and you do. Sometimes the person might not even stop, and you can't even catch up with it. You can't get the license plate or nothing. Hit and run, right? I've even heard that when you have insurance and the other person has insurance and someone hits you, that your insurance still go up. My point is that regardless of whose fault it is, when we haven't, or when we don't remain aware and make sure that we do all we can do in our power to make sure that, no one crashes into us, or that we don't crash into nobody. When we don't, take up that type of obligation, then we are often left to deal with the results of not putting in that kind of energy and effort. And regardless of whose fault it is, you still left to deal with the problem. You see, sometimes staying in your lane isn't enough. Sometimes you have to actually get out of your lane to avoid having a wreck. Sometimes you do. So don't be so stubborn, so narrow-minded in your view when it comes to being in your lane and not bothering nobody. You see, sometimes you have to step out of your lane, to avoid a wreck. Sometimes you even have to step out of your character. Just make sure that whatever decision that you make, that the results of it is something that you can bear, something that you can deal with, something that you're okay with. You know what I'm talking about? That's for those of us who don't choose to really get out of our lane to avoid the wreck. Some of us are going to go kamikaze and just run straight into the person to teach a lesson. Well, make sure that it's conducive to your overall goal and objective. Make sure, because on the other side of every choice, matter if it's big or small, there's a sacrifice.